sure a lot of you have heard of the keto diet. It's kind of all the rage right now, and I get asked quite often if the keto diet is okay for someone with thyroid disease. So I want to go over with you a few reasons why you should be pretty cautious with the keto diet and give you some other tips on what you could do instead. But if you could do me a very big favor, if you could go ahead and subscribe to my channel and then hit that bell so you get notification every time I release a new video every week. So let's dive into this a little bit more detail. I know it can be very confusing. It's overwhelming because if you go on Google, you can see all the different diets that people are recommending for someone who's struggling with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. So one thing I want to preface is that I'm not particularly a huge fan of using the word diet and of basically restricting foods to that extent where you're literally cutting out an entire food group. In my experience and all the clients I've worked with and me personally, we need to have this well-balanced meal, and that well-balanced meal is going to be carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So when you are doing the keto diet, you are completely eliminating carbohydrates essentially, and you're eating an excessively high amount of fat. What I don't like about this is that when we struggle with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, one of the things that we really rely on is thyroid hormone conversion. Most of that conversion from inactive T4 to active T3 actually happens in the liver. If the liver is not getting enough glucose, you are going to really struggle with that conversion. Most of that percentage, like I said, 60 to 70% of it happens right there in the liver. Some of it happens in the gut as well, but that large percentage is happening in the liver. If it's not getting the glucose, it's going to be very hard for this to happen. I will share with you my own personal experience with this. Long before I become a functional medicine health coach, I had tried out the keto diet. Again, I heard all the rage about it. I heard everyone was losing weight with this. And at that time, I was really struggling with energy, with weight, that sort of thing. And so I tried it out. And within a month, I was feeling pretty miserable. Ended up at the doctor's office, and the doctor had said, what are you doing differently? Your thyroid markers are terrible. I had hardly any T3 at all because I wasn't converting T4 to T3. My TSH had gone sky high. And the only change I had made was I started the keto diet. And so she started, and she's a functional medicine doctor as well. So she started kind of educating me a little bit more around this. So I started doing a lot of research. Once I got certified in functional medicine, I realized that this is a little difficult for someone who has thyroid disease to manage it. And the reason is because the blood sugar there's not enough blood sugar and glucose inside the liver to help with that conversion. It relies on that. So in my experience as well, what I also have noticed is I do a lot of testing on my clients, and one of the tests that I do is called HTMA, hair tissue mineral analysis. What I also see on those is the majority of the women that are coming to me, and this happened with myself as well, before I had gotten everything kind of back into normal ranges, is a lot of people are in what we call a slow oxidizer state. So the metabolism has gotten really slow, and it's because of mineral status. Usually calcium and magnesium have gone up, sodium, potassium have gone down. That's considered a slow oxidizer. With that, it's very, very hard once we're in that slow metabolic state to burn off that excessive amount of fat intake we're getting from the keto diet. So that's another reason why a lot of people with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, they're usually in a slower oxidative state. They're in a slower metabolic state. So trying to burn off that amount of fat intake is very difficult as opposed to having more protein and having carbohydrates. So again, in my experience and all the work I've done with clients, this is what I've noticed even for myself personally. I did not do well with the keto diet. There is a time and place for it. I'm not totally bashing it. I think there is a time and place for it. My opinion is if you do it, you need to work with a practitioner. You need to check your mineral status. You need to make sure you're keeping an eye on your thyroid numbers. If there are thyroid symptoms, I absolutely do not recommend it unless you are working with a practitioner and you're looking at numbers pretty consistently and staying on top of minerals as well. What I do recommend is, like I mentioned a little while ago, a balanced meal. You need carbohydrates, but we're talking about healthy carbohydrates, starches, fruits, things like that, tons of veggies. Those are very, very important for someone with thyroid disease, particularly hypothyroid and Hashimoto's. We need those, but balance it. We need to actually make sure we're getting more protein in as well. A lot of women are not getting enough protein in, so make sure we're getting a good amount of protein in, getting those carbohydrates in, and then we're getting healthy fats in, but the healthy fats are not the main source of calories that are coming in. That's what happens on the keto diet. So that well-balanced meal is going to keep your blood sugar stable. It's going to still give some nourishment to the liver for that thyroid hormone conversion as well. And because of that balance, we're not going to have this cortisol spike going up and down because our blood sugar is going up and down as well. So This is something that, like I said, I've done a lot of work with this with clients. It works fantastic. Like I also said before too, if you do want to try out the keto diet, I do recommend working with a practitioner because you really need to be looking at your numbers and make sure that everything's staying in check. Initially, a lot of people will start it and they will drop a little weight because they're dropping water weight. And so you think, oh, this is great, it's going to work. And that's what happened with me. And then after a month, I was like, I don't feel good. And what happened was because I was getting no thyroid hormone conversion anymore. So like I mentioned, it does work for some people. I think you need to work with that practitioner in order for you to be able to tolerate it and it not drastically affect your thyroid numbers and your liver conversion and all that. So if you have questions with this, definitely reach out. Let me know. If you've done keto, let me know your experience on this as well, because I know I've talked to several women who have tried it and had the same experience that I did because they do struggle with hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. So I would love to know your experience as well. So again, let me know if you have questions or comments below, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.